the main thing is just to love everybody. Like, especially after this thing that happened in, by Rabbi Shimon. Like, we just learned about 45 new people that, like, nobody would ever know about if they didn't die. Like, there's some serious people over there, serious tzaddikim, you know what I'm saying? Like, we all got a taste of, like, other communities, other people's lives, and it's just amazing. Like, as you get older, you're just like, there's no point of fighting. Like, what's the point of fighting? You know what I'm saying? Like, we learn, we're all learning, we're all just trying to serve Hashem. Like, that's the ikr, man.
Welcome to the pod.
Engel.
Engel, okay.
Yeah, Israelis say angel, but Americans say Engel. So you could just say Engel.
Wow. Cool.
Engel's good.
I like it, Angel. All right, welcome to another episode of Two Chassids in a Pot. I don't know anymore which one it is, but
I think
people
like
watching will know.
19.
Oh, 19, okay.
Number 19 is pretty good. 19 is a good number.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we have here a very special guest, all the way from Tzfat. Originally from
5 minutes away.
Yeah, originally from New York.
Queens, New York, yeah.
You're a musical artist. You produce music you have done it for like Ferrari, I heard, the hotel, Marriott hotels, like
I can get into
big
the
stuff.
Music if you want. I can start talking about the music.
We have Menachem Engel with us, guys.
Menachem Engel.
Okay, so I'm from Queens, and I'm a music producer. I produce music for film and television, which is pretty wild. If you're looking at me and you're like, why, how'd you get into
the
that?
band behind that?
And so basically, I was very into music my whole entire life. Thank God I grew up. My father was really cool. And we grew up with a lot of non-Jewish music in the house, a lot of Neil Young, a lot of Smashing Pumpkins, a lot of Paul Simon. And I played guitar at a young age. I was very into heavy metal.
I assume you didn't grow up religious then, right?
No, I grew up very religious.
You did grow up religious.
Yeah, but like chill. Like my parents are really chill.
Like what, more than Orthodox or?
Like whatever, like yeshivish, but like Haimish, but like Chassidish. Like a mix of like all the good worlds.
Did your parents have like a payas?
My father was a Bekasha. My father was a Bekasha.
Oh, wow.
He comes from Chassidim. He comes from the Ger Chassidim. And I grew up in a very chilled home. And I was very into music. I played guitar for many, many years. I actually recorded some stuff under a band called Black House, but it's impossible to find that stuff anymore. Just like instrumental, metal, stuff like that.
Not even on YouTube?
Maybe I'll put it up one day. Actually, it's a good idea. I have like one CD I like recorded in my room, and I made it on some company. This was like before music was like available online. You know, like how it is today. You just go on SoundCloud, whatever. Anyway,
I mean, you could go to LimeWire.
Yeah, you could probably find it on LimeWire or like Kazaa or like those old school stuff or whatever.
Music in Cherem?
Which one?
LimeWire.
The one that you said that you can't get is like,
no, it's just like I only made like 100 CDs. I don't know where they are. Like it's not even MP3. Anyway, I came to Israel. And I starked out like super seriously.
Oh.
And I'm just talking about like my musical journey now, and then we'll get into other journeys. But
you mean you went more
like
religious,
how into
musical?
Breslev and stuff like that. No. I like start. Yeah, I mean definitely. I moved on from heavy metal to psytrance. I was in yeshiva in Tzfat, and how I got to Tzfat is a whole other story. But when I was in yeshiva in Tzfat, I was not doing any music at all. I was like just jamming like little kumsitz here and there, but I was not focused on music at all. And then one day somebody introduced me to psychedelic trance. You guys are familiar, like Nanach, stuff like that. Like stuff like the Nanach
stuff I love,
on the
my
truck.
house too.
Yeah, exactly. And I was blown away by it. Like I was just like, I need to learn how to make this music because I just have no idea. Like how are they making this music? Like I was just always playing on guitar, like with real instruments, stuff like that. I was like, how do you make music on a computer? Because everyone thinks like they're looking at like a DJ and like he's moving these things. He's not making any music. He's mixing music. Everyone thinks like he's making the stuff. So I was like, I need to learn how to do this. So I went and I bought a computer. I bought FL Studio. It's like everyone starts off on FL Studio. It's like the basic beat making program. And I started making psytrance. And then I was like, okay, I'm making psytrance and I want to go, play at psytrance festivals, but I'm a religious Jew. So like that doesn't really work out. And then psytrance kind of got boring. So I kind of moved on to making more chilled stuff, ambient, classical.
You obviously didn't know about Nanachs at this point.
I did know.
Oh, you did know?
Yeah.
But don't they
we
play
kind of
like a lot of
fast forward it like 10 years before like that, but we can backtrack. So let's start from the beginning. So I grew up from home in New York, and you grow up in a from home and things are great and really, really good environment. My parents are amazing. Hi, mom and dad, you're the best.
Hey guys.
And And, you know, but like you're in high school and like you're not really like caring about what you're really doing. You're kind of just like going through the motions. Like, you know, you go to davening because you go to davening, and you're learning because you're learning. And like, you know, you're
Out of
from
a
because you're
habit.
from. Like, you're not really, you know, like I wasn't such a crazy kid. You know, I didn't go off the derech or anything. Like, we partied a little bit, you know.
When you say party, what do you mean by that? Because there's so many different ways you can.
I mean, like, yeah, like we hung out with girls. Like, you know, we smoked cigarettes. We drank alcohol. Like, you know, regular, like, you know, stuff that people that are 18 years old do, 16, 17 years old, but nothing like crazy. Like we would never break Shabbos. Everyone put on tefillin every day. You know what I'm saying? But we'd go to the movie theaters. Like when we were supposed to be in yeshiva, we would go to the pool hall. But like we were still, you know, on
a bit
track
of acting
to
out,
do
but
good
not
things.
too. Yeah.
But then when we got to 12th grade, something happened. Like my whole class, like my rabbi was like, guys, you're in 12th grade. Like, what the heck are you doing with your life? Like, get involved, you know, like start learning. So like, we all were like, okay, cool. Like learning is cool. Like he actually taught us how to learn Gemara, and it was like exciting, you know. But like I was like more like I just missed out on like 10 years. Like yeah, I knew stuff and everything, but I really wanted to like start fresh. So like I hired this chavrusa to learn with me. This guy, I forgot his name. I think his name was Rabbi Ederman. I used to learn with him outside yeshiva. And like I'm like I want to start from Aleph base. Like I just want to start again. Like even though I knew all that, like I could read and everything, but I just wanted to start fresh. I learned everything, and, you know, Chumash again, Rashi again, Gemara, Mishnah. It's like basic things of Judaism. Like, why are you doing Shabbos? Why are you doing this? Like, what's Pesach about? Just like everything. And so we all became like super frum, like in 12th grade. It was like crazy. It was like he took this class of like bunch of like wild teenagers and made us like just like learn Gemara like till like the late hours of the night.
What was so special about him that he got you all to be so involved?
I don't know. He was just like, I think he was just like, guys, you're in 12th grade. Like, you know, you're going to go to, he's like, you know, that was the thing. Like after high school, you know, you go to Israel, right? So he's like, you guys are going to go to Israel. Like, what are you guys doing actually? You're going to waste your parents' time. You're going to waste everyone's time. Like, I don't know. He just like got through to us. Like, I don't know. It was like, it was really weird. It was like a nace kind of. When I look
miracle.
back at it, it was a big nace because you had like
so
guys
inclusive.
just like, yeah, he was just like, and everybody was like into it. It was like really cool. So we all went to yeshiva in Israel, and I went to a very hardcore Litvish place called Base. Base is the place. It's in Neve Yaakov in Jerusalem. Very serious black hat yeshiva. Right at this time, I knew nothing about Chassidus at all. I mean, like I knew that my father came from my Chassidim, and like I knew what Chassidish people were because I grew up in New York, and like obviously I've seen Chassidish people, but like I didn't know like something like I didn't know like something like that, like a study of Chassidut existed. Like you know what the Baal Shem Tov is. Like I don't even think I heard of Rabbi Nachman at that point in my life at all. Like I knew what Nanach was because like they gave out the Nanach Yamachas like on Purim, but I didn't fully understand that situation. So I went to Israel, and you know we were learning. The whole day was just basically learning a lot of Gemara, a lot of like, you know, Ian, like hardcore Mefarshim, Brisker Rav, like all that stuff. And it was really exciting, but I felt that something was missing because nobody ever really comes to you and like tells you like, why are you learning Ian? You know, they just like, you're just expected, like, you know, Yeshivish Welt, like that's the system. Like we want you to just like pound over like these one page for like a whole zman, and like I was like, why are we pounding? Like I just want to go like the whole Masechta. Like I want to finish. Like I was very into just like finishing like a book. Like when you finish something, you feel good about it, you know. Like I wanted to finish Shas, you know. So I was like looking for something else, and what happened is that I think it was Sukkot, my first year in Israel. This is 2006, going a long time ago. So it was like, I don't know, 15, 16 years ago. I went to somebody's house in Jerusalem, and I found a book called Rabbi Nachman Stories. And I opened it up, and I was like, hey, like, we're waiting for this meal to start. And I opened it up, and I heard of Rabbi Nachman a little bit, like, from somebody. And I opened it up to the first story. It's called The Lost Princess. And the first line in the story that he said, I'm going to tell you, he said, I'm going to tell you a story, and whoever heard the story will do tshuva. That's what he said at the beginning of the story. Like, it's like the preface of the story. And when I read this story, something happened to me that, like, I was like, I need to also, again, start over. Fresh, like it was like the second reset kind of. And I went to the store after, you know, Shabbos or whatever. I went to Manny's, you know, in Jerusalem, Manny's Classic, and I was like, show me the Breslev section. And like it was just I bought like every possible. I had a stack of like English books, you know, and I was learning it, and it was actually, but I had to, you know, hide it because I was in a Litvish yeshiva. You know, there's a few guys there, so Base is actually known for taking a lot of transfer students.
Speaking of that, he's bringing me a book.
we were just, so I was learning it, and base is a place that has a lot of people that transfer there from
Wait, can we just explain this really quick?
Yeah. Why? Who's
We're talking about buying a whole bunch of Breslev books, and a guy I'm ordering a Breslev book through is just calling you.
Calling him
right now. I today sent him a message. I want this book, and he said okay. And
I think he's calling me about something else, which I don't want to pick up the phone for. I think it's to do something to do with work, because I'm building a website for him. That's another thing I do. I build websites. But anyway,
we're gonna talk about that.
Let's get back to the journey into Breslev.
Hiding your contraband.
Yeah, so we're hiding our contraband, and I start growing payas. Yeah. I start growing my beard.
Wow, that you can't hide.
And it looked pretty gross. It was like 3 hairs.
Oh yeah, I know.
Everybody, like my mother was
the
like.
Beginning is hard.
My mother was like calling me, like she saw pictures of me. She's like, "I'll give you $500. Just please shave it off." And I was like, "I can't." Then I was like, after a while, I was like, "Okay, this is pretty bad." So I shaved it off, and then it came back like nice.
Did you at least get the $500?
No.
Oh,
but I think my mother would give me a lot of money then anyway. But that was besides the point.
To shop at Manny's in all the English section, you need that.
Okay. So now I'm like, okay, I'm this guy in this yeshiva, and I want to learn about Breslev. So I have all these books, and I'm learning Breslev, but like you don't really know anything about Breslev until you meet like a Breslever. So I'm like, how do I meet a Breslever, right? So I go on. This was like the first year that YouTube was around. I don't even know how I got my hands on a computer. I don't know. I typed in Breslev into YouTube, and at that point there was like nothing on YouTube that was Breslev. There was like 5 videos. There was one video of a bunch of Breslev guys dancing in town.
What year was this, by the way?
This is in 2006.
Okay.
It's like the ancient days.
YouTube was gray.
And what's it called? And I see this Nanach guy who was dancing in this video. I'm like, okay, so like if he's in town, like all I have to do is just go to town, and like I'll probably bump into him, right? So anyway, a few days later, I was in Geula or Menachem, and I met this guy who happens to be still a friend of mine now. And I told him, I went over to him. I was like, "Bro, I saw you on YouTube in a video." He was like, "What's YouTube?" He didn't even know. I was like, "No, this guy's also from whatever. He also speaks English. He's also whatever." Anyway, so I was like, "I want to learn about Breslev." He was like, "Oh, okay, awesome." So like, I just started hanging out with this guy, walking around Jerusalem with him for hours. Just crazy stories I can't even explain. At that time, there was like this growing Nanach, like American chevra that was in Jerusalem, and there was also a lot of Breslev chevra, but like again, Breslev was like hidden back then. It was like it wasn't
Gadi,
like
the Ethiopian that was at the end of Ben Yehuda.
Yeah.
He put me on to like my
with like the dread payas, like kind of So he was one of those guys, and like so as the journey went on, like you just keep on meeting more people, because the thing with Breslev is that if you look at some of the Svarim also, like a lot of the big tzaddikim in Breslev, like Rav Shmuel Horowitz and these guys, Rav Shmuel Horowitz was a Breslever who grew up in Tzfat 100-something years ago, okay? He actually grew up Chabad, and he was looking for something, and when he couldn't find it, he didn't know what to do, because they were hiding the Breslev Svarim from him. Nobody had it like out there, like learn Breslev, It's like something that you need to find, or it comes to you.
It's like
so it was like the same type of thing. It was like, I need to find this guy, taught this guy. So I was in this yeshiva, and we were learning Breslev, and I kept on meeting more people. And I was actually learning a lot of Chabad back then also, because Chabad was like the accepted thing that you could learn. Like this is Sharon Tanya. Nothing against you. I love Chabad also. But Breslev is like the thing that works for me. And basically, fast forward, I don't want to,
I have
tell every second.
I have actually a question on, because you said before, like Nanach and Breslev, like there was a movement of Nanach of Americans and like Breslev. For some people like me, I know there's a kind of a difference, but like, can you say
what the difference is?
Yeah, what the difference is.
What the difference is. So the difference is a very hot topic, so I want to be very careful of what I say, because I have a lot of friends everywhere. I'm almost like a hidden Nanach from some of them. So, I can't blow my cover.
We can bleep that if you want.
The easiest way, I think, to describe Nanach is like Breslev, like Maxim.
Is it like the Yechi of Chabad?
Yeah, but like not like as controversial, because there's like there also, again, in Nanach there's also certain levels of like what you believe. Like some people believe that Saba's the old guy in the picture holding. He was a big tzaddik. I'm saying he was one of in the beginning of Breslev in Eretz Yisrael in 1920s, 30s. He was hanging out in Meron for weeks at a time with Rav Shmuel Horowitz. He was doing major avodah. I'm saying he was a big tzaddik. He was considered one of the Ziknei Breslev. I'm saying Rabbi Shemaiah quotes him in his Svarim.
He was a Karlin Chassid, right?
Yeah, he grew up as
and he's the face of Breslev now.
He's the face of Nanach.
Of Nanach,
So, but I think the main difference between Nanach and Breslev is that Nanach is not into any leaders at all. They're into very, like, nobody is allowed to take the mantle of, like, Breslev leadership and say, like, you know, like, I'm this rabbi and I'm going to teach you how to learn, you know, Breslev. Like, it's Rabbi Nachman, Rab Nosson, like the Ziknei Breslev, and Saba. And, like, that's where it stops. And everyone else is, like, don't go, you know? And, like, in a way, I'm kind of into that, but in a way, I'm, like, not into that because, like, I don't want to get into it here, but, like, when the Nanach scene was very strong in Tzfat, when I came to Tzfat 10 years ago, I came to Tzfat 14 years ago, there was a very intense Nanach scene here in Tzfat, and it was, like, very weird. It was like calling rabbis' names on the street, like, following around, like, Rav Koenig, like, making fun of them. Like, it was not what Rabbi Nachman wanted. You know what I'm saying? Rabbi Nachman is very into loving every single yid. He's into finding tzaddikim. He does warn you about, you know, people that are sheker. You have to stay away from them. But, like, this was, like, going a little bit too far. But Nanach is, like, one of the thing with Nanach is that they do, like, the major hafatza of Rabbi Nachman's Svarim. You know what I'm saying? They're the ones who go to Tel Aviv into the clubs and give someone, like, a tikkun klali, and that tikkun klali.
It's kind of the
same
with Chabad. It's also the Yechi guys that have the most, like, motivation. And they go out and does the most slichas.
So, you know, there's a place for them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But, like, mainstream Breslev is not, like, in a war with them. It's not like they're in a war with them or anything like that. They just have, like, a different opinion. You know what I'm saying? And I think that also there's something very different between there's also, like, this divide between the Israeli Nanachs and the American Nanachs. You know, it's not really something I want to get into. That's the honest truth, you know. But, like,
I think I got
it's a good thing. It's a very good thing. I think we understand
more or less the difference.
So, but you know what I'm saying? Nanach does definitely turn a lot of people onto Rabbi Nachman. You know what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with saying Nanach, Nachman, Nachman, Yuman. Like, you know, you could say it. Like, if it's real, then it's real. And if it's not real, then you're just saying Rabbi Nachman's name. And it's good to say it's Tzaddik's name. You know? So, like, I'm cool with it. And, like, who doesn't like dancing to trance on top of a truck? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm saying, like, you know, like, what other Chassidus is, like, blasting trance music, like, 2 hours before Rosh Hashanah and Uman, like, getting you pumped up about, like, you know, Rabbi Nachman. Like, that's the whole thing. It's just to get you pumped up about Rabbi Nachman.
And nobody, I think, cares. Like, I don't know. I see, like, Nanachs and, like, Breslev, or, like, you can see them mixed, and they're like, friends. And it's the same, I think, with, like, the Chabadniks. Maybe back then it was different, or there were times that maybe there was more tension also with the Nanach. But now also, like, everybody's kind of low-key yechi, or not sure, or they're not, or this, and they don't care also. It's
exactly.
And there's, like, different levels. Some people believe this, some people believe that, and at the end it doesn't really matter because they're all doing shlichas and they're fine. Shalom Bayit. There's main thing.
There's a thing that Saba said, that kulanu chavirim. We're all friends.
Yeah.
We're all friends. There's no big people. There's no small people. Everyone's got to be, like, together, and, like, that's the main thing about Breslev, is that, like, the main thing is unity. Like, there isn't so much, you know, unfortunately, in every Chassidus there's a lot of, you know, divide. You know, who's going to be rabbi this, that. Even in Breslev, unfortunately, there's a little bit, but not as much. And, like, you know, the main thing is just to love everybody. Like, especially after this thing that happened in, you know, by Rabbi Shimon. Like, we just learned about 45 new people that, like, nobody would ever know about if they didn't die. You know, like, there's some serious people, there's serious tzaddikim, you know what I'm saying? Like, we all got a taste of, like, other communities, other people's lives, and it's just amazing. Like, as you get older, you're just like, there's no point of fighting. Like, what's the point of fighting? You know what I'm saying? Like, we learn, we're all learning, we're all just trying to serve Hashem. Like, that's the ikr, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if that's, you know, so, like, you know, so everybody's friends. That's where we're gonna end it. We're all friends, right? I'm friends. We're friends. I like
You're actually, you guys. When it comes to, like, friends, you were one of the first people I met in Tzfat.
So can we talk about that? Because like, you keep on telling me that, and I don't remember. Which I know, but I want to remember.
So my first friend, but you don't remember.
It's not about friends. It's not about friends. We weren't friends, but you were one of the first people that I met.
So how did we meet?
Okay, so I don't know if anybody knows the story, but basically when I was 17, after 11th grade, I came to Israel.
Okay.
Like, I wasn't going to continue in the U.S. I was either going to England or to Brazil. That's where I have family. That's where my parents are from. And it's going to be one of them, but I'm not staying in America. Right. My dad said, you've never been to Israel. I'm taking you to Eretz Yisrael. So, okay, fine. Come here. Public school in Miami, 17-year-old, comes to Tzfat.
Okay.
Iratika.
Okay.
Staying with Haredim Israeli Charedim that only the mother speaks English.
So that's intense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I started walking the streets of Tzfat late night. What am I gonna do? Anyway, everyone I'm talking to is in America.
Right.
So I need to be up late.
Right.
The internet I can only get from the street.
Right. It was like exactly. You sit on the bench over there with the phone and the laptop. I remember those
Everyone
days.
in Tzfat remembers those days.
Yeah.
Right. So then I would get Wi-Fi there, and I'd walk around, and like on my first or second night, I walked by a certain yeshiva in the old city.
Shalom Rav.
We're gonna probably bleep that, maybe. I don't know.
Why?
Because I like walked by the fence and I heard English and I heard guitars and things, and then I saw some other things and I was like, I just left Miami.
All right.
Let me keep walking.
All right.
So then I never really could come to Shalom Rav, but then I found a few other chevra that were sitting. Remember, on the stairs there was the ruin where we would do bonfires and things like that. And
yeah, the dome. The dome. Yeah.
So
which
then
which is gone. Rest in peace to the dome.
Rest in peace to the dome. Classic Tzfat archaeology.
Yeah.
What happened to the dome?
It's becoming.
It got knocked down from the rain over the years. It was like it was an old Arab house that we used to make bonfires in. Like, Shalom Rav, Shari Bina would all hang out there, and everybody would just come and chill. Like,
how long
ago you want to go to the dome, make a fire?
This is in 2010.
10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
2010.
I didn't even know Tzfat existed then.
Where were you in 2010?
I don't know.
You know.
Probably high somewhere in Europe.
It's before the army.
Right. Where are you from, by the way?
Belgium.
You're from Belgium?
Yeah, I was in Belgium then. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Wait a second. I just want to hear how I met Elliot.
Okay, so basically I found the dome.
I want to
through
remember.
the dome, I found, and I knew also Menachem as well.
Menachem Friedman?
No. Pizza Bagels.
Avrami. And I was working at the bagel store then.
Yeah, and I would come in there and also sit and use Wi-Fi because I would buy something and then overstay for like an hour and a half.
So you met through the internet.
I remember you.
At the dome, and then also at Menachem's.
I remember now.
I remember. Shira Tias, David Tias.
Oh, that year. Oh, so Menachem Friedman was with Dahlia.
Yeah, a lot of shidduchim.
Yeah, by the
just
dome.
Landed.
Wow, those were crazy times.
So you were
sometimes I would wear white contacts. Trippy ass white.
I remember you.
So you were on the Wi-Fi in the same place, and you were on Wi-Fi in the same place. And you both met there in real life because of the internet.
I also worked in this bagel store. There used to be a legendary bagel store here called M Bagel, which was legendary. It was like the hangout of Tzfat, and like that was one of my first jobs in Israel. That's how I learned how to speak Hebrew, because it was like I don't speak Hebrew, and they're like, just come to work and you'll figure it out. I'm like, okay. But anyway, sorry, getting back into the Breslev journey. So basically I continued in bass and I was learning, but I was very not into learning Ian. I was like, this is a waste of time. So I decided just go up to the women's section of the shul, because like we learned in the shul, and I was like, I'm just going to learn there by myself all day. I was wearing tcheles. I was going to Tzfat. I know. So that's actually the funny thing, is that I was actually very against the city of Tzfat when I was in that yeshiva.
Why?
Because I was so Litvish and I was so like intense. All my friends would go to Tzfat for Shabbos. Everybody goes to everybody wants to go to Tzfat for Shabbos. Everyone was like, come Tzfat. I was like, no, we can't go there. There's drugs. There's girls. You're going to go there. You're going to become homeless. Like, I was crazy stuff. Like, look at me, 14 years later. I'm like living in Tzfat. Like, I'm an established person here. So it wasn't until my second year, or later on, at the end of my second year in yeshiva, that someone took me to Tzfat for Shabbos. He took me to Shalom Rav. That's how I knew about Shalom Rav. And I was like, I need to come back to Tzfat. But anyway, I ended up getting kicked out of base. They asked me to leave the yeshiva. It was very, very peaceful. Yeah, it was because of Breslev. It was like, listen, we're trying to develop a certain type of student here. I was like, you're not really fitting the mold. And I was like, you're right. So I was like, but you got to help me. And they're like, okay, just go to the mirror. So I went to the mirror. Like, I learned in the mirror for like 2 months, And then my parents were like worried about me, walking around the streets of Israel, hanging out with nanachs and like doing crazy stuff. So they were like, we'll buy you a ticket to Uman. Just come home. I was like, fine. So I came home and I was learning in Sharyashiv. You guys
went to Uman? Yeah.
No, so that year, so I came back. It was 2007. I came back in the summer of 2007. I went to Uman my first time that year, and it was crazy. Yeah, I was still wearing a down hat. I was still wearing a black hat and a suit. I had little pays and a little beard. I was like this weird, like Litvish, Breslev, creepy guy. Like nobody knows like who you are. And I met so many good people there. I met just so many Americans like I had no idea that were into Breslev, and I met like just people that I now know for 14 years that have changed my whole entire life. And then I was in Sharyashiv, and you guys heard of Sharyashiv.
I was just about to ask.
Yeshiva. So Sharyashiv is a yeshiva in America that was started by someone named Rabbi Freifeld. Rabbi Freifeld is Rabbi Weingot from here, Tzfat. It's his Rebbe. He learned by Rav Hutner from Chaim Berlin. So it's like a whole thing. And Rav Freifeld was very into Chassids. He was teaching Chassids in Farakwe, New York in the 70s and the 80s, 90s. Like, totally different chill.
What
you know
Chassids?
Bob
Breslev,
Dylan went to
Chabad
Shayashiv.
Chassids?
Bob Dylan came to Shayashiv for like a week. That's the legend. It's confirmed.
As a Bob
He
Dylan.
came as whatever his real name is, Michael Zimmerman or whatever he came, and he learned to yeshiva. He had like all these guys. Like,
they would learn Breslev or Chabad?
They learned Breslev, Chabad, Shlomo, everything. And he was taking in a lot of Bali Tshuva. It was like this whole movement there. And so I went to the yeshiva. It's not the same as it was back then, but it's still very like you walk in there and you feel like you're in Israel. Like there is a shir on Chassidus. There's Chassidim. Like the davening is real. Like it's a really cool place. So I really loved it there. And I met a guy there who was Breslev. He was the one who took me to my first time. His name is Shmuel Siegel. People say that we look alike. The first day he came to yeshiva, people were like, "Hey, Shmuel," and I'm like, "I'm not Shmuel. I'm Menachem." Like, what? And then the Rosh Yeshiva set us up together. And he taught me so much about Breslev. And basically, I was there. And then one day, I was like, I need to get to Tzfat. Like, the Maya was my whole thing then. I need to get to Tzfat. I want to move out of America. I can't do this. I was in college. I hated it. Right? So, Rabbi Weingot from Tzfat, he used to be in Shayashiv.
You know who that is?
It sounds really familiar. Who's that?
Tzaddik from Machshavot Tovot.
Oh, that's how.
Tzaddik of Machshavot Tovot.
You know the motivations of Machshavot Tovot?
No, we're talking about his father, not Avshi.
Oh, not
Avshi's father. Avshi's father was Rosh Yeshiva. Rabbi Weingot. You know Rabbi Weingot.
I thought you meant it for... I didn't know he's in Tzfat, though.
Who, Rabbi Weingot? He's the one who started. He's the one who's...
No.
What do you mean he's Davins in Makar? What do you mean you don't know Rabbi Weingot? Everyone knows Rabbi Weingot.
Avshi?
Avshi's father. Where do you think Avshi came from? Avshi grew up in Tzfat. Avshi grew up in Tzfat. Rabbi Weingot came here 35 years ago.
Was always Shalom Rav.
No, he was like the Madrich, but then he took over Shalom Rav only like 6-7 years ago. Rabbi Weingot started Shalom Rav. It was a kollel first.
I forgot. No, I knew back then maybe, but now when I met
Avshi,
now I was like...
When Rabbi Weingot came to Tzfat, you could rent an apartment here for $9. You caught that? That's 35 years ago. 4 years, there was nothing here, he told me.
Wow.
So Rabbi Weingot was a
What, he
student
bought or
of
rented?
I don't know. We should ask him. But Rabbi Weingot started this yeshiva, for Bali Tshuva and for all types of people, from FFBs, Bali Tshuva, guys coming back from India, whoever you wanted. There's always people just stopping in there. And I knew about this yeshiva because I came there.
Shalom Rav.
And it's like, it's all different levels of learning. Some guys are learning Aleph Beis, some guys are learning Gemara hardcore. And I came to the yeshiva. So he came to Shayashiv one day, and I saw him, and I was like, "Listen, Rabbi Weingot, you don't really know me." And I was like, "I gotta get to your school. I gotta get to Tzfat. Please help me speak to my parents." And he had a meeting with my parents. I was on a plane a month later. And I arrived in Tzfat in February of 2008, and I have not left. I mean, I've gone to visit, but I've been living in Tzfat basically since then. I got married, and I met my wife here. And I got married, and I learned how to make music here in Breslev, and that's the story of how I got to Tzfat. So now we're in Tzfat, and I'm making the psytrance music, and I'm living in this little apartment on top of the cheese factory, on top of Kadosh cheese, with a lot of chevra, a lot of good chevra.
Are we talking about you before marriage now?
Yeah, we're talking about me before marriage, and I was zoiche. I don't know how Hashem blessed me with like this 1 year to just sit in my apartment and do nothing except for learn Torah and make music. Wow. I was working a little bit in the bagel store, and I was working a little bit on some other projects, but literally all day, what I was doing was making music.
Sounds like heaven.
And some guy I met on the internet, I was on the internet, and it was crazy because my landlord downstairs had kosher internet. So if I wanted to go on YouTube to learn how to do something, I would have to go to the bench where Elio was sitting to hang out with this guy.
Log into Leumi internet.
And that's how you guys met.
I had to go over there and download a video and run back home, watch it, and then go download another video. It was crazy.
Wow.
And I learned how to make music, and this guy was like, "Yo, you should write music for film and television. This is good stuff." And he told me about this platform called Audio Jungle, which is basically imagine Amazon, but only for background music and companies. Yeah, it's basically
jungle
music.
For music.
Yeah, exactly. It's a big jungle with a lot of people selling on there, and I just started selling on there, and that's how I got. So my music has been purchased. It's purchased by many different companies all over the world. So you don't really see who, sometimes people just write their names in the receipt. Sometimes people write, their actual company name. So my music has been featured in Ford, Thomas Pink is a shirt company. Ferrari, like you said.
The whiskey also, I saw.
Whiskey.
The one with the car. Like they did a really interesting thing. James Walker, what do you call it?
Oh, you saw that one?
Yeah, I saw that one.
That's wild. How did you see that one? That's
it was featured. You were featured on
Johnny
YouTube.
Walker with
Johnny Walker. Yeah, that was what I meant. Yeah, that was really cool.
And like, so it's just my music is everywhere, and you know, so that's like one of the things that I do as work here in Tzfat. Is like I write music.
That's awesome.
You know, and music is just this crazy, awesome, amazing thing because you can just do anything you want, especially nowadays with, you know, programs like Logic, and you're just sitting in your room, and like I'm free now. Like Baruch Hashem, I can make enough money, and I can also have freedom to like explore, you know. So that's what that's where I'm at like right now, basically, you know. So basically, yeah. So you know, so I started this band called Kabbalistic Village. That's how I produce Kabbalistic Village, and the reason why I call myself Kabbalistic Village is because I was reading a book on the Baal Shem Tov, and it said that the Baal Shem Tov lived in a Kabbalistic village, which not really. Mezhebush is pretty. I mean, Mezhebush is not holy. Have you ever been to Ukraine?
No,
You've never been to Uman, Rosh Hashanah?
I was pretty much like even learning Breslev, I was really opposed to it until I came here. And now I'm like, I would go. I'm still not sure for Rosh Hashanah.
Why were you opposed to it? Because like leaving Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah, the main thing is Eretz Yisrael.
Right,
and it's like when I say the main thing, it's like 95% of the reason I wouldn't go.
Right.
Now I'm much more open to it. My wife is more open to it. I'm still not sure about Rosh Hashanah.
Okay.
Because like, again, Eretz Yisrael, like Rosh Hashanah, Eretz Yisrael. But yeah, I'll definitely get there.
Yeah, no, for sure. Ukraine is a very special place. It's one of my favorite places in the world. If you could imagine that. Have you ever been to Ukraine?
I was actually on the border, Lviv.
Yeah, Lviv.
It was nice. Basically looks exactly like Poland, which I was staying at the moment for 2 years. And we just like visited Lviv. Right. It's like Poland, but cheaper. Right. Even cheaper.
Right.
I loved it. No, but I didn't see Uman. I didn't see more. Like I didn't see. It's very limited.
So there's something in Ukraine which is like really special. I'm not like sure exactly what it is. Like especially where the Baal Shem Tov is buried, like in Mezhebush. Like people are living there, like still like 100 years ago. You know, people are growing all their food in their front gardens. They're chopping wood. You see old women going to the water pump. You know, the Baal Shem Tov shul is still standing. It's just like quiet. Like there's nothing to do there.
Tzaddikim come from there. Like
it's pretty wild that like everything that we're doing in our life right now comes from like a 500-mile radius, like in Ukraine. Like
besides all the Tanakh and the Torah.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, but like the derech that we're following now in Chassids comes from like Russia and Ukraine,
because it's a life of priesthood as well.
Is like it's
they weren't in Varsha.
Right. Yeah. So you know, I've been going to Uman every year for the last 13 years.
Wow.
Baruch Hashem, when I went out with my wife, like I don't have a lot of requirements about, you know, when I was dating, like at all. Like as long as the girl was normal, but like I told her like one thing that I like to do is like it's like I have to go to Uman for Rosh Hashanah.
It's on the ketubah.
You know, like it's not. That's the joke, but yeah, it's not really there. But last year I was not able to go because of Corona. I didn't even try. My wife was like, "There's no way you're even trying." Like I couldn't leave her here, you know, especially like the borders closing, opening, people getting stuck. My friends in Belarus, like I was like, you know what? If this is what Hashem wants, we're gonna stay in Tzfat, and like we try to make it as Uman as possible. And it was really nice. It was like it was literally the first time.
You didn't make it to Meron.
No, because my wife was like, if you're already here, please don't go to Meron. You know, like please stay home with me. I was like, fine, you know.
Makes sense.
And it was really nice. And I'm happy like I got the experience. Like I've never experienced Rosh Hashanah with my family before. I've been going to Uman. Yeah. I was going to Uman for at least 5-6 years before I met my wife. So
what do the women do when you go there?
They hold down the house, man.
So
they come together.
So a lot of women get together. Yeah.
They get together here.
Yeah, they get together here. No,
that's what I meant. Yeah.
I have a few friends that started bringing their wives, but like it's a little complicated because you need to rent like your own house. Like, you know, it's like usually they stuff like 20 guys into a room. It's like really ghetto, you know, like guys can handle it. It's not comfortable for a woman at all. But a lot of my friends, they started bringing their wives like from fancier guys, and they rent out like a whole entire house. So it has a bunch of bedrooms and a private bathroom so that you could, you know, so you can bring your wife as long as like, you know, it's really not comfortable. Like when there's 50,000 men, like, you know, 3 women walking down Pushkina, which is like the main street, you know. But my wife, thank God, like she's very, very close with a family that she made Aliyah with to here in Israel, and she goes to them. The father of that family also goes to Uman. I traveled with him 1 year after I was married, and she goes there for Uman, for when I'm there. And it's not the easiest thing in the world, it's definitely an intense thing, but it's a major part of being a Breslev Chassid is going to Uman and experiencing that unity.
What does it feel like? What does it feel like for Chabadnik or for other people that are Chabad or Sadmar?
Well, first of all, you can
not
come.
Breslev.
There's a Chabad man in there. There's a huge Chabad man in there.
Yeah.
There's a gigantic picture of
Chabad. Yeah, I've had friends actually gone to Uman, but for people that haven't been, what's the feeling like? What's the experience like?
It feels like Meron Lag BaOmer, but a little bit more personal and a little bit more like Breslev. The thing with Breslev that's different than other Chassids is that, like, let's say, like, you have Satmar, right? So 99% of Satmar Chassidim live either in Williamsburg or Kiryas Yoel in New York, or Monroe, whatever. That's the same thing. And the Rebbe's there. They all know each other. That's it. They do events together. That's it. Breslev is like so spread out that there's no, like, once a year. There's no time that everybody gets together. So that's what Rabbi Nachman wanted, is that everybody should come together on Rosh Hashanah. And that's what it is today. And you see people and you learn from people there. And you see people that look like they just came out of India, like tripping out. And you're like, there's no way this guy is like following Rabbi Nachman. And then like you go to him and he's just like starts talking to you about Rabbi Nachman. And like he knows everything. And you're like, what is going on? Because Rabbi Nachman touches these neshamas that are so far away. Right? You know about Rabbi? There's a saying in one of the Sfarim that Rabbi Nachman said that my men want to go so deep into the disgusting parts of the world. They go all the way to the bottom, and then they take out a shovel and they go even deeper. They start digging in the ground even deeper. Like, those are the people that I get. Those are the people that he gets. And you see there that there's just this unity, and there's just this sichas chaverim. Sichas chaverim is a thing in Breslev where you just talk.
Like a Farbrengen.
Right now. Yeah, exactly. Like a Farbrengen. This is exactly what sichas chaverim is. Just talking to people and the thing. And you're in the middle of Ukraine somewhere. It's weird. You're not comfortable. You're davening in this minyan that's like 20 hours long. But everybody, whatever you do there is like good. You can go to the Tzion and you may not feel something your first 10 years that you go there. People think I'm gonna go to Uman. I'm just gonna like die. Like I'm gonna, like I'm gonna see the Tzion. Like I'm gonna see the Tzion and I'm gonna like do tshuva like right then. Like then you go there and you're like super depressed. Like why did I come here?
Wow.
It's like really weird. Like it's cold. I'm tired. The bathrooms are disgusting. The food's weird, and there's so much noise, and it's disgusting. Everybody's smoking cigarettes. Like everybody smokes a billion cigarettes there. And like first of all, you always get sick. Like no matter what, like no matter how much vitamin C you take and how much you care yourself, you will get a cold, because Ukraine is like just it's super cold. Weird and like whatever. And like but then you go there and like you start davening and like you talk to and you do sichas chaverim and you talk to God and you talk to Rabbeinu and and it's just like it's a crazy thing. And like every year I go and it's just like it gives you a whole boost for the whole year. It's like I'll just finish off one thing about Uman that I love is that you meet a guy in Uman. You can just meet a guy in Uman, like just on the street. You meet a guy, like, do you know where this is, whatever. You can start schmoozing with him for 2 minutes. You'll be there 6 hours later, and you guys will be doing tshuva together. And then you'll see him, and you don't see him for a year until next year, Rosh Hashanah. And then when you see him, it's like you guys never left each other, because there's such a connection that's developed there from the Chassidim together that, like, it's just, that's what Rabbi Nachman wanted. And I think it's, like Elio was saying, it's hard to leave Eretz Yisrael to go, like, justify, like, how can you leave Eretz Yisrael? Like, you're in the holiest place in the world. We're in Tzfat, Jerusalem, whatever. How can you go there? But, like, I think that there's something there that, like, it won't be the same, like, if it was here. It's a little controversial to say that, I guess, but, like, that's
I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
The wife is not there.
Yeah, like, did you miss me? Yeah, of course I missed you. Okay, honey, I gotta go. There's like another trans party over there. And he's like, gotta get some more vodka. You have to, keep warm over there. Yeah, listen, so that's what it was.
Within this whole experience and this whole Breslev path that you've like set out on years ago, decades ago, you've like kind of have a niche online at least.
Yeah.
You have a Breslev website, like info site, news site. Yeah. And you also are very into like one teaching just in general Breslev, but specifically history.
Yeah.
I've seen you doing a lot of that.
So I'll tell you. So basically what happened was that last year during Corona, you know, there was a lot of news surrounding Uman, like what's going to be with Uman? Are they going to let us in? Or how are we going to do it? Like, are we going to spread there? You know, like, is it going to be bad for us? And, you know, so like there's tons of people in America who are like just, you know, on WhatsApp groups and getting little updates here and there. But most of the news, most of the Breslevers in the world are living in Israel. So I would go to the mikveh every Friday and I would see all these signs about Uman and this and what do you do and how do you apply and whatever. And I was like, you know what, like these guys in America, they don't know about this. And I was building websites. That's what I was doing now during Corona. I started building websites for like people. I was like, why don't I just make a Breslev news site? Like there's Hebrew Breslev news sites. There's like 3 of them that are pretty active. There's not that much Breslev news, but you know, there's enough that you could make a post once a week or something. I was like, I'm going to go home, and I bought breslevnews.com for $15.
Awesome.
And I just started a website and I started this WhatsApp group, and I was like, you know, this is it. So like now I just update people, and we started this WhatsApp group and we were helping people get into Uman, and like when they were doing all this like shady stuff crossing their borders, like people were like on the group, okay, call this guy, give him $3,000, he'll smuggle you across the border. It was like a whole like thing, you know, but everyone gives each other chizuk there, and it's just like Breslev a nice grass. Thing, you know. When something happens in Breslev, people post it there. They post a new sefer that came out, or a new mimer, or a new old picture they found of tzaddikim, or a new thing. And about Breslev history, it was like, I feel like that's something that I feel like Chabad is very into. I actually got
everything's recorded.
Everything is like very like Monday, like Parshas Akev, like 2:20 in the afternoon. The Rebbe like walked from there to 770.
I think the Rebbe was really like into it. Like I think he was one of the first. He was definitely the first Rebbe to broadcast,
right?
And to on the internet in general. I think he's one of the first people in general to like put videos on the internet.
Exactly.
Even.
So no, but like also just like the fact that like everything is like dated. Like, you know, we know a lot of when Rabbi Nachman gave over certain Torahs, and like we know certain things, but like everything is like very dated, like in Chabad, like very like this part, like this Shabbos, the Rebbe came in, like he said this, and it was like a whole thing. You speak like an old Chabadsker from like Crown Heights, like he'll tell you it was like Shabbos afternoon, January 23rd. Like he'll get very into it. I love that about Chabad. But anyways, I was like, I love Breslev. I love everything about it. I love, you know, hearing all the advice from Rabbi Nachman. But I also want to know like everything about Rabbi Nachman that's possible to know. Like where did he live? What was his house like? Like what were his kids like? You know. So there are Breslev Svarim that are dedicated to these things, but like they're not learned as much. And one of them is called Siach Sarfei Kodesh. It's an 8-volume book that they just reprinted into 3 volumes. And
so you didn't talk at all about the broadcasting thing on the internet. Oh, you got it wrong.
Oh no! I was Well, I'm getting to that. Why I started reading that also.
What he meant about Chabad was the fact that it's dated, recorded, when this happened.
Like you open up like this book, like
it says when the
book, you know, and it says when like, it was what written. Day and what thing. And like I recently became friends with this Chabad guy on YouTube, Rabbi Dolphin. Hi, Rabbi Dolphin, if you're ever going to watch this. He actually is a Chabad historian, and he writes Svarim about Chabad and what their relationships were like with other Chassiduses. He has a book called Chabad in Bavov, Chabad in this, and now he just finished a book called Chabad in Breslev.
Yes, interesting.
And when he talks, he says like certain things. Like I remember coming to the Rebbe over there. What happened?
I don't know again.
That's the main one. You can keep going if you want it. This is on.
No, it's all good. So I was like, you know what? I want to learn about all these things. So I got the Siach Sarfei Kodesh, and I started reading it, and you know, like you do know, like Rabbi Nachman, like we learned about that Rabbi Nachman was born in the Baal Shem Tov's house. Yeah. Right. Like how did he get to the Baal Shem Tov's house? Like why was Rabbi Nachman's mother and father living in the Baal Shem Tov's house? So something like that, and like also there's just so many Chassidim.
And it's all in.
That's all in that's all in Siach Sarfei Kodesh, and all the people, and you know, there's so many Chassidim afterwards. Like, okay, like we know, like Rabbi Nachman, okay, and then Rav Nosson, right? And then you're like, okay, but what about Avmar Nachman? Like, well, how do you learn information about all these guys? So you open up Siach Sarfei Kodesh and you learn about them. I think another point that I also wanted to do when I was getting into the Breslev history was that there's also a lot of sayings that are in like Chaim Moran or like shorter stories, and then they elaborate them. They tell like the whole story.
Oh, the background.
The whole background of like what happened. So then I was like, one day I was like, you know, like I also had this YouTube channel that I was uploading music to, you know, but I also was like let me try to make a little money off of it also, you know? So I was like, I have enough subscribers. You know, you guys will get there soon. Bezrat Hashem, guys, subscribe. Everyone should subscribe. Hit that like button.
Yeah.
Hit that like button. But
we prefer the subscribe.
But I was like, you know what? I'm like, also during Corona, I'm like sitting at home. I'm reading all this history. I'm reading all this awesome information about Breslev. I'm reading all this other information about other tzaddikim stories. I was like, why not just read stuff on YouTube? So I started reading on that. And then I was like, wait, let me just start reading Siach Sarfei Kodesh on YouTube. And then like now I have this whole schedule where I read Siach Sarfei Kodesh on Mondays and I say over a Rebbe story on Thursday and like whatever, you know. So it's like, it's just like, it's a nice way if like somebody wants to put on like something in the background while they're working and they want to learn about Breslev, you know, because there is definitely a thing in Breslev is like, you know, like you could kind of feel like left out, like, you know, other Chassids have like this whole Messiah and history of like the Rebbe, you know, Rayatz, or like the Rebbe 1500 years, you know, 300 years ago he was doing this, and like you're like, hey, it was just Rabbi Nachman. And then you also have to get into the fact that like you have to learn how the whole histalsus of how Uman Rosh Hashanah like became to be. It was like, it wasn't like
only in the
right.
last
It
10,
wasn't
15
right.
years,
And
right?
it wasn't also like, okay, like after Rabbi Nachman died, like there was 1,000 people in Uman. There was 50 people the first Rosh Hashanah after he died. So all the different information that we get from there, that's what I wanted to get across to the people, and like just that they should know that there's something out there. Besides, like if they don't learn Likutei Moharan, they could also just, you know, learn a story about Rabbi Nachman, you know. So I think that's what I want to try to do. Chaim, brother. Yeah. So that's what happened. Yeah. So Breslev. So how did you get into Breslev? You got into Breslev probably because of Tzfat, right?
No. I, funnily enough, when I was in middle school, high school, I only wore like big kippas, not even this, like Bukharin or like Nanach size kippas. Like that was my thing. I played basketball, I ran a lot, I was very active, very athletic. Like there's no way I'm chasing after a kippah all day long, and I'm not putting no pin in my hair to like keep.
You grew up like somewhat religious, or?
There was times that no, but like Sephardi, so you're you know, you're still both.
You're always like you're always in
and this and that.
Right.
If you go to anything, it's to the Orthodox shul. It's not like, you know.
Right.
So I knew, but then like when I was like 11, my dad made tshuva, and then like we went, like I was in public school. No chavrutas or anything, like maybe Hebrew parsha for the bar mitzvah and everything,
right?
And like the drasha of the Rav on Shabbat in shul.
That's awesome.
But then like it got more and more and more, and because I wore big kippas and I had never been to Israel at the time, so before I'm wearing these big kippas, and my dad bought me back from Israel like a few nanach kippas.
Nice.
My dad does not like nanach. My dad's not like chassidut, really. Like very
straight,
rational
Sephardi,
Rambam,
right?
Like even more Sephardi. A lot of halacha goes according to Kabbalah and Rizal, and you know what was done here in Tzfat a few hundred years ago.
I think that's one of the coolest things about Breslev is that it has the most Sephardim. Like the Sephardim are like super duper into Rabbi Nachman, like
because it's also open. You don't have to change your nusach. You don't have to change anything.
Rabbi Nachman,
keep it all.
Don't change that. But yeah.
By the way, I would like to see that source in Siach Sarfei Kodesh about him coming over on the boat, and because of the boat, apparently this is what I heard, that it's in there. I'm not sure. You'll tell me if I'm wrong. That because of Rabbi Nachman's Nesiyah to Eretz Yisrael, like when he traveled here on the boat, there was a whole melting pot of Jews, including Sephardim, including this, because he came from Turkey, right?
Yeah.
Because it was such a mix, he said like that's how Breslev is gonna be. That like you don't drop your new stuff.
I've never heard that before. But
and you
read
the whole book.
I mean, I've been through it, but like, I mean, I've never heard that before. But I mean, I know
so
that
maybe
he was
it's not
with,
there, but
it does mention that he was with one of these Chacham Sephardi guys on the boat when there was a big storm. But that's possible. Listen, there's a lot of stuff out there. I'm saying not everything. That's Breslev was like not everything's collected, and there's always these sayings that are, you know, out there. And that was the whole point of Siach Sarfei Kodesh, that somebody wanted to collect them and put them all into you know, one book. But continue what you were saying.
Anyway,
so I'm
So I'm wearing nanach kippas. I have no idea who Rabbi Nachman is. The only thing I know about the kippas that I'm wearing, if anything, is that they came from Eretz Yisrael, and that crazy guys that dance on vans wear them. And I don't know who they know. I have no idea. I've never seen it or nothing.
Right, you didn't know anything.
I know negative. Like one, for me, it's like a cool kippa. It's big. but I don't even know what Nana, Nachman, Meuman means.
Right.
I have no idea. I don't know who Nanachs are.
Right.
I know nothing. Literally, that crazy guys in Israel wear these, and my dad bought me them from Israel.
Crazy guys in Israel.
That's all I know.
Right.
And I'm wearing them here and there. I change my kippahs all the time. Even I still do that to this day.
Yeah, I know. I see on the different videos.
Yeah.
You're like, Elio became Nana. He's going back off the derech, guys. He's wearing a small yarmulke today.
By the way, those questions did come. Elio, you've gone Nana.
Did your wife not get a little freaked out?
My wife is not at all. My wife's way more Nana than me.
Because like if I was like, honey, you know, I wasn't want to wear a white yarmulke. She's like, it's not happening. Like, don't even try to wear white. Take all your white clothing. We're throwing them out. Salvation Army. I'm like, wait, but I like wearing. No, if you marry me, no white clothing. Like, yeah. So anyway, but yeah. So
whatever. I was wearing them, and then I came Dafka when I came to Eretz Yisrael. Then like in the army, this that you meet Nanach, so you still, but like still in my eyes.
You served all 3 years, right? Wow, unbelievable.
I was in yeshiva in Yerushalayim, no problem.
That's the best, man. It's so crazy because I had no idea about the whatever. I'll tell you after what I'm saying, but yeah, go for it.
So yeah, I was in Israel, went back to Miami after the army for like 10 months. And when I was there, through whatever funny story, I ended up going back to shul, and I had gone off the derech when I was in the army, not like in Emunah, still Sephardi, but just I'm not doing it.
Right.
Like not doing everything at least.
Right.
To ask me to be the 10th in the minyan, no problem. Put on tefillin, I even do it myself, like without you asking me sometimes. But like, just not on the derech as much anymore.
Right.
So they say, until I learned what Breslev was, and then I realized I was A-okay. Everything was Ashkacha Eliona.
Right.
So whenever I get to Miami and like I'm in these shows, and then I was like, just wasn't feeling it. I was like, you guys are, this is what chutznikim are. This is why we call you chutznikim, because you're so chutz, you're so out of it. You don't get what Yiddishkeit is, and you have the hat, you have the suit, you have everything. Right. You don't have the Jewish neshama that we have in Eretz Yisrael. It's just not, to me. Again, it just didn't add up. That of course they all do. They're Jews and they're holy and everything's good.
But anyway, I just want to just go back to what he was saying. Is like, so the broadcast, it's like that was a Chabad thing. But I also decided that I wanted to like get, you know, there's like a lot of Breslev Torah on YouTube, and you know there's a million Chabad stuff also and everything like that. But I just wanted to get a lot of the history out there because like, you know. That's also just now I remember something. I don't want to cut off your story, but I want to say one thing is that I remember when I was getting into Breslev, I remember that I was like, I had like this point in my life where I was like, either I'm going to go Chabad or I'm going to go Breslev, right? Because like Chabad was like, no, because Chabad is like, Chabad was like very misudar, you know? Like you go to the store and like you buy the book. Hey, like this is what the Rebbe said to do. Like you have your whole Sefer Minhagim. You have all the customs and everything like that, right? Breslev it's not like that. I remember like going to the store. I was like, is there like a book that like tells you what to do like on a random day? Like
there's no one minhagim, right?
That's what Menachem talks about in Sikh Saran. Like do that. I'm like,
so there is minhagim.
Like, I want like no. So there are minhagim, but like they're not official minhagim because like there's a few things that Rabbi Nachman said to do, like one or two changes in davening. Like there's a few changes that Rabbi Nachman said to say in davening. But besides that, like he said, keep your own nusach or whatever. But I'm saying obviously there's minhagim to be a Breslever. You know, you learn Shulchan Aruch every day. You go to Uman Rosh Hashanah, you go to the mikvah, Espoidus, whatever. But I'm saying like in Chabad there's all these like minhagim. You know what I'm talking about? Like real minhagim, like how to wrap your tefillin, or what type of thing to wear, or how do you eat your matzah on Pesach, like all these things. So I was very interested in that. But like, so when you go deeper into the Breslev Svarim, you can actually find some of these things that Rabbi Nachman was noig, like they were noig to say certain things on Rosh Hashanah and Uman, and not in Eretz Yisrael. They were noig to say this pasuk by this parsha from Esrei. So I just wanted to get that out there. I guess bring like that Chabad seder to the thing.
Yeah. So back to just to finish up my Breslev story. I was in Miami praying at these shuls. They're all like either Sephardi or Ashkenazi, some Karlibach, whatever, but like typical American shuls, you know?
Yeah.
Family shuls. Nothing of no Bali Tshuva real, like, or already established Bali Tshuva, you know?
Yeah.
And then someone told me, like, hey, Elio, you should go check out the Breslev Center. I was like, Breslev Center? Breslev are those, like, you know, those hippie guys in Israel. Because in my eyes, Breslev is Nanach, nothing else.
Right.
No, I never saw mainstream Breslev. I never saw that.
That's the problem.
And then I was like, okay, whatever, why not? And the reason I really went along with it, because I was like in a business mind at this time. That's why I was going to shul, was for business, not for Judaism.
Mm-hmm. I hear that. Okay.
So I was like, okay, another community, another pot of money.
Right.
So I go there, and like my first my first day there was just like, my whole life changed. I judged someone the wrong way. Gedalia Fenster.
Oh wow!
I walked in and I like looked at him and I was like, "Oh great, the Jews of Aventura are getting religious." Little did I know he's been a Chassid of Rav Arush for 15 years at the time already. You could never see it in a million years.
Yeah.
And he like gave a shiur after the minyan, and I was like,
"Whoa,
who are you and what was that?"
Right. Like why do you look like that?
And why do you look like that? How do you look like that? And you call yourself Chassidic? That makes no sense to me at all.
But that's the beauty of Breslev. That's the beauty of Breslev, is that the hidden guys, like the guy who looks like that, he's doing major tires.
He's one of the biggest Breslev Rebbes. Yeah. He won't call himself a Rebbe, but he is one of the biggest Rebbes in the world when it comes to like Baalei Tshuva Breslevers.
Yeah.
Men and women, and it's like insane. So yes, and then he pushed me back to come back to Eretz Yisrael. And once I came back, I wasn't in Breslev yeshivas. I didn't chase it, but I always like wanted more.
Which yeshivas did you guys go to?
Me, I went like for like 6 months here to YTD. That was your
yeshiva
whole experience.
That was your whole yeshiva.
And I met my wife and got married.
Wow. When did you guys move to Tzfat?
Well, I met her here in Tzfat, but
she was in Mechanalta or something? Or?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, she came from Canada. I met her the first day she got here, like 3 years ago, almost now, 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, that's how
I came here about
my wife too, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met my wife 2 days after she made Aliyah. But it was a whole thing. But yeah, it's crazy.
Awesome.
But
so
you've been learning, I'm saying you've been learning on your own with Chavrutas.
Mainly on my own. I learned better actually on my own than in classes.
Yeah,
it's hard for me to focus.
Me too. I feel that 100%, by the way.
Yeah. Did you grow up like in a yeshiva's place? And with a lot of Gemara going on, did you have a hard time like focusing?
No, so like I feel like when I went to base and I was learning Gemara, I was like, I'm burnt out from shiurim. Like I can't, like it's very hard for me to like sit down and like even like online, like just listen to like a full shiur. Like I can't do it anymore. Like I like learning, like opening up the Gemara myself, like opening up a Sefer myself, just learning. I can't. It's really, really hard for me. Like maximum like 5-10 minutes. Like I can do. They burnt me out so badly because like just every day shiur, and then you have this thing called shiur klali where the Rosh Yeshiva gives you like things to look at, and he's gonna ask questions, and it's like a whole thing, and it's a great derech. Like, I'm not like knocking the yeshivish world at all. Like there's Rabbi Nachman also talks about like there's definitely you have to learn Ian, you have to learn Gemara, you have to understand these things, but like. To put all the focus on it is like it doesn't work for everybody, especially
not for
today.
Everyone.
Today in the generation that we are in today,
such a lowly generation,
and the craziest thing, the low generations that we have today is like it's really difficult.
Did you see the new video that they're putting out now?
Which one?
Because of the Rebbe with the Belzer Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe with the Belzer Rebbe.
No, what is that?
Oh,
yeah. So my question is like I saw that I saw the video. The Lubavitcher Rebbe was hacking the Belzer like, why aren't you learning Chassids? So I was like. Why?
We have a Shabbat paper that goes out every week. He's like, great, but what about in the classroom?
Yeah, but why are they? That's what I don't understand. It's like, why is Belz not teaching Belz Chassidus?
Because maybe they're like at a certain point, like Kabbalah, Chassidut.
No, but I'm saying like just basic. See, that's the difference. Like that's one of the unique things about Chabad and Breslev. That's like attracting people. Today is Chabad and Breslev. Everybody could agree on this. Is the only two Chassidic groups today that are actually focused on learning Chassidus every day. That's it. Saying other groups are learning, okay, where they go to the Rebbe on Shabbos and whatever. But I'm saying is like learning in Chassidus every day is a Chabad thing and it's a Breslev thing. You open up this farm. So like I was very confused about that. Like I don't understand that like at all.
So my Rebbe actually, like my Rabbi explained it when he was here. He was explaining like they're Chagat Chassids because they're like follow the Rebbe, right? Like the Rebbe inspires them,
right?
So they don't learn the Chassids because like the difference between the Balatanya and the other Tzadikim, the other students of the Magdom Mezrich is like they were in a difference,
right?
The Alter Rebbe understood it like, no, you're supposed to teach everyone Chassidus, and the other ones were like, no, we learn Chassidus.
Like we're the guy, and then we're gonna like speak to them, and then like
exactly.
So that's what they do. Like today is like the Rebbe is like the guy who like channels it for them, which is awesome.
But it's kind of changing. I feel like
yeah. No, it is. I feel like people are learning Chassidus. Maybe the kids aren't in Bells, whatever. But I'm saying I like the Bells Rebbe. He seems like a cool dude, man. Like I feel like he's like a lot of these guys. Like the problem is like they make it into like a show. And you're just like, come on, like, is he really a tzaddik? But like, at the end of the day, like, if you probably sat down with him, like, he's probably like legit a tzaddik. Yeah. Like, you just don't know because like, there's just so much like fanfare around him.
Because
Like,
it's the
you
Chassidim,
know,
it's probably
like,
not what he wants. It's not like,
Right,
like make for me
exactly,
now like this beautiful
exactly,
chair. Like he's
exactly.
not involved in
That's kind
that.
of like why, like today, like I don't really go to anybody, but like I used to go hang out by Rabbi Shemaiah. I used to come to Tzfat a lot, and like I heard your whole story with him. Like I have some crazy stories. The most like back in the day, I asked him like what I need to do to get married, and like he told me some crazy stuff, like whatever. Like he used to come.
What did he tell you?
No, so first he used to come to Tzfat every year for like 5 years straight for Shabbos Chanukah and Shabbos Chazoin, the Shabbos before Tisha B'av, and he would always be in Chernobyl in the Chernobyl shul, and our dorm was downstairs in this cave. Like one time we were just like chilling in this cave, and like Rabbi Shemaiah walks in like during Shalosh to like say like just to use the bathroom. We were like bugged out, like we were like watching movies, we're like whoa, you know. Anyway, no, I asked him one time. I was like, Rebbe, I really want to get married, and he's like, and I'm like, what do I do? And he's like, learn Mishnah Berurah. That's all he said to me. Okay, I learned Mishnah
Not
Berurah.
stop watching Netflix.
Well, Netflix didn't exist then. Maybe it did, but anyway. But I really like him because he was like
Mishnah
he was like
Berurah.
you could just go and talk to him. Yeah. You know, like he's a
Very
new man walking down the
approachable.
street. You know, you can go to his shul in the base manager over there,
Awesome.
and like he's always talking about like wild stuff. You know, like you open up like his
The
books,
deepest things.
and he's talking about like I opened up one of his books like Kama Chachma. You know, and like he has this whole like 30 pages on like where Kever David HaMelech is exactly and what's going on in there, and he has Edus from Saba. He has Edus from Saba in there about like what it is, and like these guys saw it and they went inside, and like he brings like all this wild stuff. And talking about Meron, we were going to get into Meron. Actually, Rav Shemaiah said, you know, there was also a similar accident 100-something years ago in Meron. Not some accident, but a wall fell during the dancing and killed about 15-20 people, I think.
No way.
And I learned in one of Rav Shemaiah's pamphlets that he said that the tzaddikim said that the reason why that happened was because they were preventing women from coming to Rashbi, and he said that women need to be able to come to Rashbi also, and that's why the accident happened, which is very interesting to think about.
And since then, women have been coming
because he's like saying like when he says over a Torah, like he's saying like this crazy Torah, like he's
that no one has
over
heard,
like a Likutei Moharan, like he's saying over like a whole like 3-4 hour piece and like Seamus and like flying, and you're just like I don't understand half what he's talking about.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? But, like,
crazy
just
deep.
to see him is very special. Like he has a lot of kedusha.
I remember when we were there with in the Tish, and like he left the room actually to go to the bathroom, I guess,
and everybody followed him, which is weird, but yeah.
No, just I mean, some people followed him. The majority was still in the room, but you feel suddenly like a cold in the room, like
something left.
Yeah,
like
such
somebody
a presence.
turned off the heat.
Yeah, really like that. It was insane.
There's a funny story actually with the Brisker Rav that he came to. There was a Chassidish guy. There was one of the Chassidish rabbis in his town. I forgot which one he was. And they invited him. They kept on inviting him to like come to like just to meet the Rebbe or like whatever, or like hear a shir. So the Brisker Rav came, whatever, or like I don't know if it was a Brisker Rav, whatever. It was somebody, and he came in. And they were talking, they were learning, but it was getting darker. It was getting closer to Shkia, and the room was like really warm, full of kedusha, whatever. And then the guy was like, the guy's like Shkia, and then the room became like super cold because like he was like being like very litfish, but like they were being like very chassidish, like we're gonna daven late, whatever, same type of thing. But anyway, back to what we were saying before is so you went to YTD.
Yeah.
And you went to where?
I went to 10 years ago when I came to Tzfat. So I was only here for like 2-3 months. And then I decided I wanted to go back to the U.S. And some guy here, I don't know if you remember him, Avdiel Cano. He's a Dominican guy that was back out here. He used to live up next to the Rav, actually, underneath the Mitsuda in those apartments.
Okay.
Anyways, he realized that like I wasn't in the right place. And he took me to Yerushalayim.
And so where'd you go?
And he took me to like 5 different yeshivas, and he left me there, and I picked Or Sameach at the time.
Oh, cool.
But not like yeshiva. It was more like a Masad Gap program that happened to be in Or Sameach, like 4 hours of learning in the morning. That's
amazing.
And like volunteers traveling, like a real Israel experience, but I happened to be living in Or Sameach and learning with some of the rabbim.
Nice.
And then when I made tshuva after like I've met Gedalia and everything on my own, then I went to Midrash Sfaradi in the old city. It's like a smicha like yeshiva, kollel.
I see you picked up some good Hebrew over there.
No, I had that.
Your Hebrew is great.
It's
Yeah,
amazing.
Hebrew is
I thought
great.
he was Israeli. His
Yeah,
Hebrew's so
his
good.
Hebrew's
From
really
the
good.
time
Like,
I
it's much
came
better
here,
than
it was
mine.
it was a goal of mine. Like, I'm a Jew. I'm home.
I'm learning Hebrew.
I'm not going anywhere. I need to master this language.
Right.
So, and it helps me with my Torah learning as well. My prayer to get way deeper.
You have to learn Hebrew if you want to live in Eretz Yisrael.
So I went to Midrash Sfaradi. There was no Chassidut. It was like kollel, and I wasn't against it. It just, I was trying to figure out who God is, even though I had a relationship with him already. Like, I wanted more, and I wanted Veikut and all these, like, turn-ons and orot and everything. And they were talking about a knife falling off a table and shechting a chicken. Is it kosher or not?
Right,
Like,
and you're like, what's going on over here?
I don't care. Is there a Tuda in the restaurant?
Right, I want to be like,
Is there a picture of the Rebbe in the restaurant? It's
But I
fine.
want to know, like, is Hashem listening to me? Is Hashem, like,
right, I want to be in the forest, like, screaming on top of my lungs. Like, I want to be dancing like with some
I didn't even know
hippies
about that. I just, I knew I was looking for emunah and not for halacha.
Right.
And then I decided
But you have to have both. You have to have both.
Exactly.
You have to have both.
And I went to Meron Meir, and then Meron Meir I got like this really rough cook klali Torah that involved a lot of like private one-on-one chavrutas with rabbis that introduced me more to Chassidut generally, like Toldot Yitzchak that barely anybody knows from Nashchi's. That he had no children, so he wasn't continued.
Neshchiz.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Amazing Sfarim,
Yeah,
like amazing. Kabbalistic Chassidut, Reb Nachman, Chabad, a lot, like just very clearly Rav Kook, who's a Chassid in my eyes, 100%.
100%.
Yeah. And then like also like structured learning in Pshat and in the Chashivut of Eretz Yisrael and everything. So that was like my Meron Meir's experience was amazing. And then got married, worked, but
it's good, man. I'm so happy. So
now
happy
we're
you
here.
got
Now
to meet you
I'm
guys,
artist quarter.
Artist quarter, that's what you're learning? Nice.
I mean, the kola in the morning and then the distillery in the
So
yeah,
maybe let's talk about Meron.
Yeah.
Oh, quick.
No, it's good. It's good. We have to get to it because it's getting late.
So
also,
basically, from what we know, you were there.
First of all, it took all of us, like the whole world. It's something crazy that had never happened before for like, I don't know, 20 years, Meron, longer. Like
What?
500,000 people coming there, unlike Ba'omer.
No, way more.
Even longer.
It's not. I'm saying like it's like 800,000 to 1 million people.
Yeah, you said 100 years ago. Oh no, how many years ago? Like
was there
a wall? The wall.
That
wall.
That was like 100-something years ago.
So since then,
what?
You don't know the backstory of that?
But since then, nothing has basically happened.
No.
This big.
No,
in Meron.
there's people faint.
No,
and
maybe here and there fainted, but 45 people.
No, this was a disaster. That's not
children
normal, that you still can't understand. Basically, I'll tell you what happened.
Wait. I think can I just get in this one story? It's very short.
Get your backstory
like,
in, baby.
It'll like Bezrat Hashem for whatever possibly lighten up this story a little bit. Give us some emunah before we go into it. So basically, Rav Yitzchak Morgenstern told us the story that you brought up from Rav Yitzchak of the wall falling in Meron, and he said that what happened was. He didn't explain about the wall, but another backstory that went on there. His great ancestor, which is Rav Avram Abu Chatzir, is the son of the Bir Yaakov. Rav Yaakov Abu Chatzir, the patriarch of that whole family.
Yeah.
Rav Yaakov said that he wants to make Aliyah, so his son went ahead of him, like Yehuda into Goshen. He came here into Lavdil Eretz Yisrael, and he set up shop in Tveria.
Right.
Because Abba's going to make Aliyah soon. Let's go. Mm-hmm. In the end, Bir Yaakov stayed in Mitzrayim, stayed in Egypt, but he was already here, and the Moroccans would come every year. They would leave after Pesach to come to Lag BaOmer and Meron. They would start walking, and camels and everything. Crazy trek. It's just to show how much Mesirut Nefesh, right? So they came, and they passed, like, on Tveria, like, oh, the Rebbe's son is here, Rabbi Abraham, let's go stop by him. So they stop by him, and he says, guys, you're not going to go to Meron this year? Stay by me in Tveria.
It's a famous my son.
We walked all the way from Morocco. Like, we're not stopping here right now. We're going.
Right, like Menius, Exactly.
So they go. They don't listen to him. They start walking to Meron. And then they come. They stop and they're like, wait, listen. The tzaddik said not to go. He didn't just stop and say that. He's a very holy man. Maybe we should listen to him. And he's our Rebbe's son as well.
Right.
So they turn around. They go back. And then the wall fell. And they found out after the Chag that now 45 people have died. Not 45 people at the time. I don't know. It was like 20 people died. And they asked him, why didn't you tell us? If you knew what was going to happen, why didn't you tell us? He says because when the tzaddikim get revealed information, they can't reveal it to Am Yisrael all the time because they have to stay in the place of Bechira.
Right.
So they have free choice. And if they know, then they're not going to go.
It's very interesting you say that. Actually, I talked about this with my rabbi, and rabbi said, like, sometimes tzaddikim, and even the rabbi in different tzaddikim, like, when they get like a Ruach HaKodesh like that, also in this event, Rabbi Biederman was saying, right before what happened, that there's to cancel the decree, was saying something like this on the microphone.
Wow.
Yeah, so
people were feeling something.
Some tzaddikim, like, they feel that there's something happening. They don't necessarily know exactly what, but something bad.
They have like a hint. So basically, I'll tell you what I saw.
So you were there.
Happened. So basically, I go to Meron every year for like Bomer, and I went there this year myself. I was like planning just go do a little, I'm gonna pray a little bit, Ma'ariv, say the 33rd night bracha there by Rashbi. I'm gonna dance for 5 minutes. I wasn't feeling so well. I was hot, whatever. I'm gonna go home. So I was davening. I did Tikkun Klali, and I was davening Hispoy, this whatever, right by those steps. There's those white walls you see in the video, the white metal aluminum walls. I was leaning against one of those walls. And I was
downstairs? So?
Yeah, down. I was like 5 feet from the stairs. Like I'm sitting here. The stairs are like right there. I said I'm gonna daven. I'm gonna walk up the stairs, go to the ramp, and I'm gonna go see the fire, and then I'm gonna go home. So I'm davening there. I go up the steps. As I go up the steps, the cops are closing the gates behind me. I was the last guy on the flight of steps, at least that I saw, right? I'm like, okay, that's weird, whatever. They probably didn't want more people to go to the back because they were talking about in the news how they want to limit the sections to a certain amount of people. Okay, so I go up the ramp. I already noticed the ramp is slippery. Whatever, I go up the ramp to the back. The second I got into this dance floor on wherever in the back over there, I noticed that something was extremely wrong because I go to that area every year. And the second I got on there, I was already trapped. It was no me getting out. I was trapped. Like once I got in, like 10, 15 people, I could not go back out. Everybody was pushing. I mean, not even really pushing. There was just too many people back there. My shirt was being ripped off of me. My people were trying to walk by me. Imagine your beard gets pulled in between two big fat Chassidim, and they're walking that way, and your beard's being pulled that way, and your payas are being pulled that way. Wow. And I'm like, okay, this is not cool, right? Like this is really not like a schmuck, right? So I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. Like I'll deal with it for 15 minutes. But then it started getting worse. And then like you can't really breathe. Like the air is just getting hot.
What do you think that was? Because you're doing all these years.
So there's two main reasons. Number one is that the Rebbe usually lights the fire at the end of Lag Bomer. So everybody piled in, all of his Chassidim plus everyone else who wants to see the fire piled into that area. So that was already the amount of people were like doubled, and also because since it was Motzei Shabbos, since it was going into Shabbos Lag Bomer, so everybody came Thursday night. So there was just an insane amount of people there. So I was watching this whole scene go down, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, like I don't want to die right now. So I'm like trying to like move myself away from the crowd, which was not existent, but like there's steps at the back of the Rashbi, like where they sell souvenirs or whatever during there. So I was trying to get to those steps, even though they were full of girls, right? I was 10 feet away. I was trying to just like push myself back, like under Chassidim, whatever. I got to the steps. But then once I got to the steps, like people were leaning on me because they were being pushed from the top because the cops were up there. They didn't want them to go further because there was girls. So the whole thing was a balagan. And I think the cops could have done a better job, at least of just the little crowd control of that situation. But I was already seeing that something was going to not end good over here. Like if somebody would have made one bad move, like where we were, like people could have really died there. So I was like whispering under my breath, I was like, Rebbe, you got to light this fire already. They were doing major hachanas, like they say Tehillim and they sing Kol Echseif and they do this and whatever, and it's beautiful, but like when you're dying in the crowd, it's not so beautiful, right? Yeah. So I was like, Rebbe, you have to light this fire, because once he lights the fire, everybody starts dancing to Bar Yochai, and like it opens up into you can move. So I bumped into these. I was with these American yeshiva guys that I met in the crowd. They were also freaking out. I was like, guys, don't worry. Once the Rebbe starts, once he lights the fire, we'll be able to move. Fine. So the Rebbe lit the fire. I danced for about 5 minutes. I could barely like move because I took my shirt off because it was already ripped. I looked crazy. I was like, okay, fine. I'm gonna go back now down this ramp the way I came. I was yotzi. I danced for 5 minutes at Rashbi. I'm gonna go home now. I'm gonna go back to the buses. I'm tired. I'm gonna have a lot of guests for Shabbos. Fine. This is like 12:45, 12:50. I start walking towards the ramp. And this random Chassidish guy came to me and he said, "Don't go there. Turn around right now and go out the other way. It's too many people there."
There was another exit?
So the other exit is through 10,000 people dancing.
All the way to the other side of
exactly. There's supposed to be 4 exits out of there.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is officially up the steps where the women are. That's not an exit.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other exit. So there's 2 exits. One on the ramp and one on the far end of this dance floor, which you have to fight through 10,000 people. So I'm with these 4 American yeshiva guys. They're like, "We got to get out of here." I'm like, "I know." So that's what happens, that everybody was experiencing the same thing that I was experiencing, that it was too much. People talk about this in the interviews. So they were all want to go down to the ramp. So they all went down this ramp. And unfortunately, we all know what happened. They all went. Yeah, I had crazy hashgacha that this random Chassidish guy told me. Like every single second that everybody did there was like timed by Shemayim.
Wow.
Like every single step was timed by Shemayim. Like it's not.
Because if you 1 second you were in a different place, you wouldn't have met this guy.
I asked the guy for a tissue. It could be like, I'm saying, if I didn't ask the guy for a tissue, he could have been there. I'm saying, like, nobody knows who was there. I'm saying, like, everybody was just like, it could have been any 45 people. Because, I mean, the decree was for those 45, but I'm saying it really could have been any 45 people, because anybody could have just walked down there and before them. So I took these 4 guys with me, and we fought our way through this whole crowd. Yeah. And at the end of it, it goes up like this big hill. So I went up the hill, and as we were going up the hill, I started seeing like a lot of Hatzalah guys. Like there was Hatzalah guys going the whole night. People were fainting in the crowd, fine, whatever. This was like, they usually have 4 or 5 guys at a time. This was like 50 guys carrying stretchers. I was like, what's happening right now? But I didn't know, because I was like tripping out. I just wanted to get out of Meron. I was tired. I was knocked out from being pushed around. So I get out there. I walk all the way through the women's section. That's the whole point of this ramp, is that you can go on the left side of the Tzion, and you don't have to walk through the bleachers where the women are. Even though you're not walking through them, and they just don't want people to see the women, whatever. Kitzer, I come out through the front of the Tzion. And as we come out to the front of the Tzion, my service comes back on my phone. I get alert. Something happened in Rashbi. Something fell, and there's a lot of people injured. And I look at the front of the Tzion. There's 3 ambulances there, and fire truck. And then they announce on loudspeakers, everybody evacuate the mountain now. The music shuts off. Everybody starts going down the mountain, which is already a disaster, because you have ambulances coming up the mountain to try to get to the injured.
And the people going down.
So they couldn't go any further. So they would just carry the stretchers out, run, get the guy, get the injured people, and then run down the mountain. So I saw like 7, 8 stretchers pass by me with bodies on them. And I saw there was just women, like seminary girls and women and Haredi women, like crying against the wall, like from the sight of like these bodies. It was an extremely intense situation. And like, whatever, like, and I remember seeing one of the craziest things I ever saw in my life was that I saw 5 paramedics pushing a guy on a stretcher, and there was one paramedic on top of the guy. I don't know how he was doing it. How does he do it? How he like
while they're carrying it?
No, they were rolling him down the hill. Oh, okay. And there was one paramedic, like he was hanging onto the side of the stretcher, or he was on top of him. He was on top of the guy, knees on each side of the guy, so he wasn't touching him, but he was doing CPR. It was a crazy thing I saw in my life. And then I get to the bottom of the mountain. People are calling. My wife is calling me, freaking out. Everybody's calling me. I'm speaking to friends who are on the way out from Jerusalem. Oh, we're calling for Nate. I was like, turn around now. Don't even come. And I see people at the bottom of the mountain just chilling, like dancing to trance. Nobody even knew what was happening over there. And all of a sudden, it was just like the whole thing was just crazy, man. So I was like really saved from that, thing. And like I'm not blaming anybody. Like, there definitely was no stampede. There was nobody running. Nobody was trying to step on anybody. There was a crush. The way that whole ramp situation is set up on the left side of the Tzion of like, it looks like somebody built one section like 1 year, like 10 years ago, and it was like, okay, let's add on, and they're just like, okay, let's build like a little metal ramp this way and then another one this way. And it's like a whole, like, it could fall apart any second, so it doesn't look good. And it was and who puts a flight of steps at the end of a ramp when it's pitch black? There's no lights on that ramp, so everybody's walking down, and at the end they missed the first step, and that's it. So that's what happened. At least that's what I think has happened. And, it's just sad, man, like 45 people. But like we mentioned before, we got to learn about 45 holy Jews who, are going to change our lives now. And we're going to hopefully do better. And that's all I have to say.
45 tzaddikim.
45 tzaddikim, Meron. L'chaim to them.
All the entire show.
I heard that they were very special, like many stories. Like apparently one of them, before he was passed away, he wrote a letter, a poem, about what was going to happen, and like how to not like blame actually anyone, and like to be unified right before, and he gave it to his friend and told him only open it on Sunday.
That's
something like
that's
this.
what I heard, but like not really this. Oh, whatever. I don't know. There's
Something
there's when these types of events happen, there's a lot of like sipurim that come out that are like not verified, but there's what I think that I saw that guy was also like Chabad and Breslev also. This guy Rav Shimon Matlun or something. He wrote like this like little like not like a will, but like he wrote things that he was trying to work on, like don't get angry. Like they found the note in his pocket.
Wow.
Like don't get angry, just relax. Like if your wife talks to you, like just chill, take it easy, be patient. Like just like these people were constantly working on Avodas Hashem. Like you see people working on Avodas Hashem, and like it's just like there was people like you watch on the videos, there's people laying with dead people in the crowd, like helping them say Shema with their last breaths. Like this is like just the craziest Gizar Din that's like on Klal Yisrael. Like like, we can't say why it happened. I never like those things like, oh, why did it happen? But I'm saying like the only thing that we can do now is like just be mechazik and like take life a little bit more seriously. Like learn an extra Mishnah, go to Shacharis. Try to just try to be a good person. Like we have to love everybody. Like you see like those Charedim, they're pushing like that's not. They're human beings, man. Everybody's a human being, so I think that's like the main thing that like we like human beings.
Also, I wanted to really ask you because you said there was like we don't really know why and what, but there was something really interesting in the Zohar talking about 45 souls, right?
So I
in this parsha.
I didn't learn
you
it
learned
inside,
it.
but it's not.
That's not so nice.
It's not, but that's not what it says though.
No, the words that they posted online.
Wait, they can't hear you. Right. Like basically, there was something in the Zohar in this parsha. Yeah, you can say it about I
can say it in. Okay, basically, like
where in the Zohar does it show?
Was sent, it's in the Idar Rabbah. If you have the Matok Midvash, then it's Yud Bet. What was going around on WhatsApp is in the Zohar, but it's not. It's like missing a lot of context. It's like completely taken out of context.
Yeah, of course.
And it's not. I don't know. In my eyes, after reading it, I'm not gonna go into it, but I'll say about pay. Basically, in the Idra, which is like a group of it's a place as well, but like a group of.
It's next to Tzfat.
Yeah, of all these tzaddikim, that the head of them was Rabbi Shimon and 9 other students, including his son, and sometimes Eliyahu Navi. And they all get together and they learn and they go into the Pardes and they
to this field?
into like Kabbalistic realms.
Okay.
They're doing Yichudim and things in Shemaim, learning the deepest Kabbalah known to man.
Yeah.
Straight from Rabbi Shimon's mouth. Right?
Their Kabbalah and stuff like that.
Yeah. So they go, and on one of these days, it was like a big day. There's a lot of preparation and everything. They go into the Pardes, into the Idra, and they go in 10 and they come out 7. 3 of them were taken to Shemaim. Mitat Neshika, they died with a kiss of death.
The sweetest way to go.
Yeah, like Mamash Dveikut with Hashem. Rabbi Shimon, after that, it says Chadi Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon was laughing, was happy, was smiling. And Rabbi Abba was very sad. Okay, it's 3 of his friends just passed. So Rabbi Abba is coming to Rabbi Shimon, and Rabbi Shimon's trying to take him out of it and be like, no, listen, you have no idea how amazing it is. They would never want you to be in pain. Like, look, I'll show you where they're at. And he's trying to explain to him they're in the river of Farsemon, the oil of, like all these different Kabbalistic
beautiful
terms.
Places.
Yeah, in simple terms, the most amazing elevated worlds, right?
Yeah.
They're chilling. They're good. Don't worry about them. And Rabbi Abba's like not having it. And Rabbi Shimon's like, he says a name and then like he snaps out of it. He says a Kabbalistic name of Hashem, and Rabbi Abba kind of like calms down. Then the Zohar goes into Rabbi Shimon asking Eliyahu, why didn't you show up to the Idra? Like it says that he's tameh, like he's like wonder, like how'd you not show up to the Idra? So Eliyahu says, listen, first things first, Hashem was like so happy for this, so excited for this day. It's called the Hilulah, which people took that out of context as well. Hilulah is a happy day. It could be a wedding. It could be a Brit Milah.
Right.
It could be a day that you do Yichudim in Shemaim. It could be anything. Hilulah comes from the word lehalel, like also in
elevation,
and happiness.
Elevated,
right? So Eliyahu Navi is telling him like Hashem was very excited for the Hilulah, for the happy day of Rabbi Shimon. And he picked out all of the angels in Shemaim, and I was amongst them. I asked to come down to the Idra, and I was there. Hashem had me ready and everything. And we were preparing already for 7 days before this day.
Wow.
And then came the 7th day, and we're like, Mamash, ready? And Hashem sends Eliyahu, this is all Eliyahu telling the story over, Hashem says Eliyahu to the palace of the kings, because Rav Hamnuna Sava was stuck there, was like in jail, like in captivity, which at the time the Romans are ruling. So on the Pshat level, it has to, if it's not a Kabbalistic place, then it's on the Pshat level, physically, he's in captivity by the Romans in the Caesar's palace. So Eliyahu goes there, and when he's there, Hashem tells him, you're going on a mission to save Rav Hamnuna Sava, and you need to use miracles. So he pushes a wall over. Eliyahu makes a wall fall in the palace, and he manages to get out Rav Hamnuna Sava and his friends, and 45 ministers died because of the wall being pushed over. That's all it says is ministers. Right. We don't know from which side, we don't know anything. It says 45 ministers were killed by the wall being knocked down by Eliyahu Navi to save Rav Hamnuna Sava. Right. So he gets out and he says he gives them water and bread because they hadn't eaten 3 days. And I'm sure this all has Kabbalistic meanings. And if this is a story that happened, then Kabbalah is from Lashon sometimes Magbil, like parallel. So whatever happened there happened physically. Eliyahu Navi went and saved Rav Hamnuna Sava from this situation in the Roman palace, and a wall was pushed down and 45 people died. And it says that they died on the Hilulah. Right, so like
on the kind of yard side,
but it's not yard side because it's Hilulah. And what is the day of the Hilulah? Again, it's the day that Rabbi Shimon was preparing for so long to go in with his class of the Idra Rabbah to go into this place and do a yichud. And then they did such an yichud that Hashem loved it so much that He took 3 souls. It's like I'm not going into the Kabbalah.
No, so it's
3 Chassidim that were rooted in the souls of these 3 students.
People are always trying to find like stuff after these types of things. Like
so it's not the way it sounds, but it's definitely connected somehow.
There's something that's there.
45 and this parsha also.
Yeah, that the number 45
it's not a coincidence.
Is there. It's pretty wild.
It's not really this parsha. That's one thing that
it's not this parsha.
No, it's the Idra Rabbah. The Idra Rabbah is what you read on Lag BaOmer.
No, so it is even more.
No, because the Zohar is also split up into parashiyot.
I should probably start learning some Zohar, man. Like I used to learn some Zohar, but like now I'm like, I gotta get the Metok Midvash.
I also need it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, the Zohar is good to get those.
It's very deep though.
I've been waiting for like years. I'm like, I need that.
I'll take half. You take half. And
take half. Then I actually have to learn it.
That's the hard part.
So wait, what message can you take out of Meron? Like what out of being there as like mamash
message for everyone.
Jews across
like
the
I said, like I said, I mean, listen, I had a very personal experience. Like I'm like focused now. I'm like, wow, like I'm alive. You know, like could have like been like my wife was like, if you would have died, I would have killed you. You know, like, that's like classic. Like my wife is like, you know, I was like, yeah, like I mean, I could have been like, you know, seriously injured or something. Like you know, like Chas Shalom, I don't want to hurt any other yid. You know, or if I would have been responsible. I think it's like time to like like be serious like about certain things. You know, like. I think also like, we from people also like we're always like, okay, the rules always like everyone's always like kind of like the rules don't really apply to us. Like we could be wild, we could push a little bit, like we could gather in big groups. Like we need to also like step back also and be like, maybe it's a little too much. Like maybe it's a little too much to let 25,000 people in the back over there. Like I'm down for limiting like, like I'm down for, someone else going in my spot so that they could experience Lag BaOmer. In Meron, like if that's going to save lives, you know what I'm saying? But like, I feel like we need to take some cheshbon on ourselves, and like everybody needs to take cheshbon. Like there needs to be one group, first of all, in charge of Meron. That's like just a practical thing. Like we need one group that's in charge of Rashbi's Tzion, because right now there's like 10 groups that are in charge of Rashbi's Tzion. Like everyone's making their own rules and beating around the bushes and cutting corners.
Have you seen
and
that
like that.
in Yamim O'Nat?
That what?
Rabbi Natan's.
That what?
I read it the other day. They have the Breslev, you have the Sefer Rashbi or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like just the book all about Rashbi, everything.
Yeah.
So I was reading it and I just open randomly and I get to like Rabbi Natan's journal of coming here and he's like, wow, what lights, how amazing it was. It was like such a great experience to come. Mm-hmm. And then he says like the Sfardim there, that he says that all of Meron is owned by Frankim. Right?
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
Franks.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like they're there with their Frankiyut.
Yeah,
They fill the Beit Midrash with their Frankiyut, and they don't let any of the Ashkenazim sleep on the night or come in the night. So they all come to Tzfat, all the Ashkenazim, and then during the day they go to Meron.
Yeah, it's so crazy, by the way, that when Rav Nosson traveled to Eretz Yisrael, it's like very interesting because like he ended up in all these places. He was in Egypt and all these places. Like he met Sephardi people for the first time in his life. Like he had no idea. Like there was such it's so crazy to even think that. Like today, we all grew up. Ashkenazim, Sephardim. Like he grew like they just like a whole different world. But anyway, like my message from Meron is like like we gotta have real real togetherness. Like real like. Okay, like, so you may not look like that guy in Bnei Brak, and like he may have like a totally different hashkafa than you, but like you're both Jewish, you're both human beings, you both have feelings. Like people like put like Haredim like in this one box, like all Haredim in one box. They all think the same, they're all exactly the same. And like we know clearly now from these 45 people that every single one of them was like a totally different person who had like different goals in life. And what they did and what they worked on and what their families were, and like we had a bunch of guys in the mirror who died. There was guys in the mirror when Nifter, a bunch of Breslevers, like 7-8 Breslevers, and then so it's like it's just like open up your minds, open up your hearts, and like just like like we can't. You just have to have simple faith that like God knows what He wanted to do, and like it's hard to say that, but like that's that's what it is, and like I just hope that like we can all take something from it, and, like strengthen ourselves, not talk lashon hara. Do a little bit like maybe like an extra minute of Hispoidus or just an extra daf of Gemara, an extra Mishnah or something, just to like increase our kedusha and like try to take all the bad things away from the world. I think that's it, guys. I think that's it. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. I wonder, do we like to do a Q&A? Like,
Q&A.
You felt that? You felt that, by the way?
Yeah, go.
Oh. The electricity.
Oh shoot!
No, I didn't do that.
Yeah, quick questions. Okay, a few quick Q&As.
Road tripping. Who do you take on a road trip with you? Tzaddikim or non-tzaddikim?
Can I bring my wife? Or no? That's just like she's already there.
You're okay. Yeah, no, like
most people don't pick their wife, but if you want,
you gotta have some Rebbes in there too. So
I bring
whoever you want.
I'll bring my wife.
But imagine
my wife is like my biggest Rebbe.
Wow.
Like besides Rebbe Nachman, my wife is my biggest Rebbe. I bring her, bring you guys. Bring your wives. We all go together and chill out.
Where are we going?
Definitely bring Rebbe Nachman. We're gonna drive from here to Uman.
Yeah, wow. Through Syria.
Yeah,
drive
Syria.
Wow.
Yeah, there are guys who do it, not from here, but from
then it needs to
London
be a big RV,
London,
like very comfortable RV
from wherever. All right, what's the next question? I like questions.
All right, who's your favorite artist? Musician.
Wow, that's a really hard question. I listen to so much music.
Give a Jewish one and a non-Jewish
top
one.
2-3 guys.
Jewish one. I was diehard into Matisyahu. He was like my Rebbe also back in the day. He's kind of still my Rebbe, but like he was like the coolest dude ever. He was also getting into Breslev before, like whatever. Yeah, he was in Uman also, whatever. Matisyahu was that, and probably non-Jewish. I mean, someone who has a huge influence on the way I play guitar and creating music was Jimi Hendrix. So I have to say Jimmy and Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins and Aphex Twin. I just have a list. Like I can't really say one guy Skrillex. I'm saying everybody, but like let's say I would say Jimmy.
Okay.
Jimmy.
All right.
Favorite sefer all time.
Favorite sefer of
book.
all time.
Holy book or something.
Is Siach Sarfei Kodesh from Breslev. Siach Sarfei Kodesh. It's
what is
the Breslev Masorah when you were dealing with your baby. Yeah, it's like the history and it's like the passed down stories about Breslev that were not told over, and it goes through like what Rabbi Nachman's kids were like and where they lived and where they're buried and what the other Chassidim looked like and what Rav Nosson did in his life, and just the very interesting information. I think that's my favorite sefer now.
All right, talking about physical things, what 3 things would you take with you on a lonely island?
What 3 things would I take on a lonely island? Pack of cigarettes, my smartphone, and Sikh Saran. I need a lighter, so okay.
I'm sure you can make with stones. I'm sure you can make it up with stones. You can learn on YouTube how to do it.
Actually, probably be a good idea. If I'm going to be on a deserted island, I'm probably going to end up having to quit smoking. So I won't bring cigarettes. Maybe I'll bring,
it's a great opportunity.
Some Jim Beam.
Yes.
Maybe I'll get drunk and just end it all in the chas but yeah, something like that. Something like that.
Cool.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. I think I would take I thought about it early today. I was like, I can't live without ketchup and mayonnaise. Like I'm sure finally
What
find
are you
food
put it
there.
on? Coconuts? I'm saying like.
I guess.
What are you gonna put it on?
It's like banana with mayonnaise.
What do
I gotta catch a chicken or something.
What do most people answer for the road trip?
It's just different tzaddikim.
Yeah, we only just started doing this with the Rav Alon Rome, and he what did he say? Also whiskey, by the way.
Whiskey, yeah, you gotta have mashka.
He said the Alter Rebbe.
Yeah, but like the Alter Rebbe, I'm saying like, isn't it
weird? Yeah, we
did.
Like,
bring the Alter Rebbe on a road trip. No, like he doesn't know what a road trip is.
You want to take Reb Nachman?
I would love to. I would love to talk to Rebbe Nachman. Not like when I'm traveling.
No, but they all know what it is.
Not when I'm going to like Yellowstone.
No, they for sure would travel.
To go through Ukraine, they went 6 hours to go see the next Rebbe. So like they've been on road trips.
Yeah,
and around putting tefillin on Jews.
For me, it would be the Chida. Chida was a big traveler, and like I'm very connected to Chida. I would love to go with Rambam. Also traveled a lot, and I don't know. I want like someone else that's not maybe holding so much, or that we think that.
All right, for next time then.
Guys,
thank you so much for coming.
I hope that was good. I hope I spoke well. I hope I put information out there. Listen to Kabbalistic Village.
Yeah, follow him to his YouTube channel.
And,
anywhere other platforms they can find besides YouTube.
Spotify, Instagram, SoundCloud, YouTube. I'll send you a link so maybe you can put it.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
Awesome. All right, guys, time to go home and down Meron. Don't forget to count. Yeah.